So the Yellin Kiddos stepped into entrepreneurship recently, and they launched 2 independent candy stands. But the evolution of it was so cool because over the past few months, my kids were accumulating all of this really unhealthy candy. And we don't eat any unhealthy candy at all in our house. And I'm like, why are you guys doing this? And they're like, we're starting a candy business. And I kind of just let them do what they were doing. And every time they went to their math class and they got a few Tootsie Rolls, they put it into this little bucket. And they started to accumulate quite a bit. And I'm like, so really, what is your plan here? And they're like, we're going to start a candy business. We want to set up tables at the local park, and we want to sell our candy, and we want to make thousands of dollars. And I said, okay, well, I think it's going to take you a long time to accumulate enough inventory just by getting 1 or 2 Tootsie Rolls every time you go to math. So if you want, I'll fund your business. And I'm going to give each of you $20. And you could then take your $20, we'll go to Target, and you could buy whatever candy you want. But it's really important that you realize that the first $20 you make is going to pay back the bank, and that you can keep any money beyond that. And we went to Target, and it was a complete show. I mean, they were trying to find some way to make their $20 stretch, and they wanted a few dollars more. I'm like, no, that's all your pre-seed funding is. And I was doing this to teach them some just key business principles. But it was really interesting because I said to my daughter, who's 7, why are you selling unhealthy candy? Because like as a family, we don't eat that at all. I'm like, why don't we go get really healthy candy or carrots or something like that can like really serve people? And she's like, no, because most people aren't aligned with us. They don't eat that way. So I want to sell them something that they will buy that they're accustomed to eating. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. She's thinking about product market fit. And she knows her ideal customer profile. So it's so cool to see kids processing this way. But we went and they were the CEOs of the little candy businesses. So over the weeks leading up to this moment where they started to sell candy for the first time, my wife and I explained it's important for them to advertise their candy business. They made these little advertisements, and we made copies on the copier at home, and then they brought it into their school and they started handing it out to all their friends so that they knew there was going to be this big event happening at the park, which was this past weekend. And we made these big signs and put them on top and they set up their stands prior to even going just to make sure how they would look, and they put their candy in different jars, and they took such immense pride and ownership in this. And this is such an important exercise for your children to do as well, which is why I'm sharing it. Give them the opportunity to realize that they can create value. And I don't think necessarily candy is the optimal thing to sell just because of the health consequence with it, but ultimately the fact that they can create value, they can create a means of exchange, they can learn how to approach people. There's just so many lessons in this. So we showed up at the playground this weekend, and they had 2 different booths, and they did not want to collaborate yet. They wanted to have their own candy stands, and I honored that, and that means that they were competing against each other. And the plan was that they were going to sell 4 pieces of candy for $2. They had a ton of candy, so if they were to sell all the candy, they'd make hundreds and hundreds of dollars of profit. But my son had a different plan, which was that he wanted to sell, he had 3 different types of candies. Each one of them was $75 each. And I'm like, I don't think anybody's going to pay $75 for a canister of Smarties, but he was convicted that they were. So the first few people that came over to his stand, he tried to sell them the canister of Smarties for $75 and clearly didn't get any yeses for that. And in real time, you saw him changing his strategy. And all of a sudden, he started selling 4 pieces of candy for $2, and then they started to collaborate more where they would sell 2 pieces for $1 at this table and 2 pieces for $1 at that table, so they would both win. But the thing that I enjoyed the most was the fact that when they were standing there, initially, nobody was coming over to them. And they're like, Daddy, what do we do? And I'm like, go bring people over to your booth. There's all these kids and parents running around. Like, go bring them over. Like, go get them and bring them over. And they're like, no, Daddy, we need you to come with us. And I'm like, no, you don't. You want me to come because that makes you feel safe and secure. And I'll walk with you just so that you do feel safe and secure. But you got to talk for yourself. Like, I'm not going to sell your candy for you. Like, you're going to need to do it for yourself. And you could see them so timidly walking over to these parents and these kids and like kind of like walking around the perimeter of the playground, like trying to like navigate like who's the easy target. And then all of a sudden they found one. And they just pursued that one kiddo. And the kiddo came over to the booth and they had $5. So they bought quite a bit of candy with those $5. But that one sale gave them the confidence to then start approaching literally anyone that would walk by their stand. They would go and approach them. And this is such a key lesson because I remember for me when I did door-to-door sales, I had no sales for literally the entire week. And then I got 1 sale on my last door of the last day. And it gave me the confidence to realize that I could do anything. So I share this is really a fun opportunity for you and your kiddos. Go out there and get them to sell something. When we were at the park that day, my parents were there, and they were like, why don't you give some free candy away? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, this is their business. Like, they're not giving away free anything. It's value for value. If they want to make a deal, but they got to sell. And I wanted them to understand that this was not an exercise of just giving things away, because that's not going to serve them in life. But what will serve them is creating a means of exchange. So make a deal, like go for it. If somebody's got $5, make a deal to get all $5 versus giving back change. But don't just start giving candy away. So there's just so many lessons from this. I'll share more about the Yellin candy stands and any other stands they decide to create. But I just encourage you, empower those young kiddos that you got to become aspiring entrepreneurs by becoming them, and get them to sell something. Let them launch something. Let them go through the process with you. Let them put together little advertisements in their stands and take ownership and pride and understand how important it is to have means of exchange. And we started this weekend. It was an absolute blast. Share the stories that you have with entrepreneurship and your kiddos. And if you have any questions, just ask me for advice. I stand to have kids experience entrepreneurship so they can experience what it means to have freedom, because entrepreneurship equals freedom. It gives you the chance to create something out of nothing. It gives you the chance to support yourself economically, and it gives you a chance to contribute to society as well. So the Yellins are well on their way. I hope your kiddos are as well. And as we always say, together we achieve more. All right, bye for now.